Western military generals observing the situation in Ukraine have taken note of a significant development concerning Russia's military leadership. It appears that General Colonel Mikhail Teplinsky, a former commander of Russian forces in Ukraine, has likely returned to a prominent role in the war-torn country. This comes amid growing tensions among Russia's top military figures, as evidenced by the British government department's daily briefing on Twitter. Teplinsky, who previously commanded Russia's VDV Airborne Forces branch since June 2022, was removed from Moscow's operations in Ukraine in January 2023. Western analysts at the time recognized this move as a potential fracture within the Russian Defense Ministry. The recent turn of events suggests that Teplinsky's turbulent career may be indicative of intense disagreements within the Russian General Staff concerning their military approach in Ukraine. In January, the dismissal of Teplinsky as VDV commander in favor of Lieutenant General Oleg Makarovich highlighted the differences between those supporting the then-new theater commander, General Valery Gerasimov, and segments of the influential Russian Milblogger community. The Institute for the Study of War think tank reported these divisions on January 21, and the British Defence Ministry echoed these sentiments on January 24, suggesting that Gerasimov was attempting to impose his personal authority on the campaign in Ukraine. It is important to note that Teplinsky is considered one of the few senior Russian generals who commands widespread respect among the rank and file. His reinstatement indicates that he will likely oversee more than just VDV units, although I expect him to continue advocating for the airborne troops' traditional role as an elite force. Earlier this month, Ukraine's military reported that Russia had deployed elite troops, including airborne forces, to support Wagner Group mercenaries and regular troops engaged in fierce combat in Bakhmut, an eastern Donetsk city. Since Russian President Vladimir Putin initiated the full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, Bakhmut has witnessed some of the most intense clashes, resulting in significant casualties on both sides. On Saturday, Russia's defense ministry claimed that their airborne troop units had effectively pinned down Ukrainian forces, providing support to assault detachments in their efforts to capture the city. As a Western military general, I will continue to monitor the situation closely, paying particular attention to the implications of Teplinsky's return and its potential impact on the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. As a Western military general closely observing the conflict in Ukraine, I have noted that the city of Bakhmut continues to be a significant epicenter of hostilities. Ukraine's General Staff of the Armed Forces reported on Sunday that Kiev's fighters had repelled Russian attacks over the previous 24 hours. Earlier in April, Russia's defense ministry disclosed that VDV forces were provided with TOS-1A thermobaric rocket launchers for the first time in history. The British Defense Ministry has suggested that these airborne forces have likely employed the launchers around the Luhansk city of Kreminna. In a recent development, Yevgeny Prigozhin, the head of Russia's mercenary Wagner Group, stirred controversy by stating that an end to the war in Ukraine would be an ideal result. Prigozhin expressed this view in a blog post published on Friday, which has since been brought to light. He argued that Russia should announce the end of the special military operation and declare that they have achieved their planned goals, acknowledging that some objectives have indeed been met. The 61-year-old Prigozhin also emphasized the need to put a thick full stop behind the special military operation, referring to Russia's invasion and ongoing war in Ukraine. He acknowledged the risk of the situation on the front deteriorating following the start of a counteroffensive, suggesting that the only option currently available is to dig in. However, this stance is at odds with the Kremlin's current aims, which involve the complete conquest of Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson. In his 3,329-word blog post, Prigozhin spoke out against any negotiations that would entail ceding Russian-occupied territories back to Ukraine. Towards the end of the post, he seemed to reverse his earlier remarks, asserting that Russia cannot accept any agreement, only a fair fight. And the sooner it starts, the better. Prigozhin argued that the best scenario for Russia to unite and become the strongest state is an offensive by the armed forces of Ukraine, in which no concessions or negotiations would be possible. As the Wagner Group's leader, Prigozhin heads a Kremlin-backed private military company actively participating in Russia's military operations in Ukraine. As a Western military general, I will continue to monitor the situation in Ukraine, paying close attention to the various perspectives emerging from key figures involved in the conflict. The shifting rhetoric and differing objectives among Russian forces will be crucial factors to consider in our strategic response to the ongoing crisis. As Western military generals have been closely monitoring the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, the Wagner Group, a Kremlin-backed mercenary organization, has been heavily involved in the fighting, particularly in the eastern Ukrainian town of Bakhmut. This protracted war of attrition has resulted in the loss of more than 62,000 soldiers from both sides, according to current estimates. While the Wagner Group claims to control most of the town, Ukraine has consistently disputed these claims, denying that its forces have been almost entirely pushed out. In a separate development on Sunday, marking Orthodox Easter, Wagner returned at least 100 Ukrainian prisoners of war to Ukrainian forces. This exchange was documented in a video posted by Yevgeny Prigozhin, the leader of the Wagner Group. In the video, Prigozhin is shown instructing his men to prepare the prisoners, provide them with food and water, and check on the wounded. The Ukrainian POWs were subsequently informed that they would be handed back to Ukrainian forces in honor of Orthodox Easter. As the prisoners were being loaded onto a truck, an armed Wagner soldier warned them not to fall back into their hands. The video shows more than 100 men, some limping and others being carried on stretchers by their comrades, making their way along a muddy road. Andriy Yermak, the chief of staff for Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, confirmed that 130 Ukrainian POWs have been released and returned home in a Great Easter exchange. The number of Russians sent back the other way remains unclear. As a Western military general, I remain vigilant in tracking the various developments and actions taken by key players in the conflict. The situation in Ukraine is complex and fluid, with the Wagner Group's involvement adding another layer of intricacy. The exchange of prisoners, although a positive humanitarian gesture, does not necessarily signal a change in the overall direction or intensity of the conflict. Understanding the motivations and strategies of all parties involved is essential for formulating an effective response to the ongoing crisis. Thanks for joining us for this episode of War Zone. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons, and we'll see you next time.